Chuan has the floor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, it is somewhat ironic that it's a Liberal member that wants us to be remembering what happened during the pandemic. Frankly, I would expect Liberal members in particular to want us to forget what they did during the pandemic. I would have expected that Liberals would, well, I wouldn't actually have expected this, but what they should be doing is offering a groveling apology to the Canadian people for their disastrous record over the course of the pandemic, and then probably hoping that people forget afterwards. Because the reality of this government's approach to the pandemic was they showed capricious disregard for the basic civil liberties of Canadians. They showed disregard for the law. They sought to demonize people who disagreed. They saw the pandemic as an opportunity to spend outrageous sums of money, in many cases on things completely unrelated to the pandemic, and to aggressively demonize people who disagreed with them. That is this government's pandemic record, Mr. Speaker. A lack of respect for taxpayers' dollars and a lack of respect for constitutionally protected fundamental human rights. Go back to the very beginning. Then Finance Minister Bill Morneau, of course with the full encouragement and cooperation of the Prime Minister, tried to use the pandemic as an excuse to bring in legislation which would have given the government power to raise taxes without the permission of Parliament. Can you imagine what other group of Canadians, when the pandemic hit, were immediately thinking, how can I use this as an opportunity to raise taxes? But they have a one-track mind over there. Global health crisis, this is our opportunity to raise taxes, to take over more control from Canadians, to undermine fundamental rights. That is what they did during the pandemic. They wanted to be able to assume within the executive all of the powers of the Parliament. Right. That was this government's attitude to the pandemic. Unbelievable. Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, while we're remembering the pandemic, I don't support this legislation. I wish Liberal members of Parliament would have more ambition with their private members' bills than just to have more and more days for this and days for that. Actually, I don't. I'm glad that they don't have more ambition, because I can only imagine what kind of terrible ideas they would come up with. But, Mr. Speaker, while we're talking about remembering what happened during the pandemic, I hope government members will take an opportunity to apologize. Apologize for how they tried to abuse the circumstances of the pandemic, to undermine the rights of Canadians, to attack taxpayers, to demonize people who disagreed with them. Mr. Speaker, this pandemic is behind us, but we should never forget what it revealed about the kind of Prime Minister and the kind of government we have.